Good morning. It is Tuesday, May 11th, 2021, and you're listening to 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair, New Jersey, here on the Tuesday edition of the Morning Buzz. My name is Amanda Marino, and I'm joined with Caitlin Aristizabal, Ben Petrick, and Issa Winek for another Tuesday edition of the Morning Buzz. How are you guys doing this morning?
Good. Tired, but good.
Yeah, I mean, we're approaching the end of the semester, so I think we're in that mode of like, we just got to get through. We have what is it? Classes technically end next Friday, right? For everybody?
I feel like we're all just trying to push through and then finish all our assignments.
I'm running off of like the adrenaline from just like being ready to get all the information stored in my head out of me.
Issa, I don't know if any of your professors want to hear that you're just trying to get it out of your head.
Not like the last day of school, like when you throw out all your papers like that.
Yeah,
I remember doing that in high school.
Exactly.
It's so liberating.
I feel that. But while we're at it and while we're chatting with Issa, what is going on in the world today?
Well, yes, of course. Number one, you're listening to 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair. I'm Issa Winek with your news update today. For New Jersey news, Governor Phil Murphy announced that in his latest conference on Monday that he's anticipating CDC's advisory committee on the immunization practices as well as the FDA that they will be giving a green light sometime this week on the Pfizer emergency use authorization application to the vaccine for adolescents with ages between 12 and 15. Shots could begin on this federal vaccine advisory committee as soon as this Wednesday, but we are still expecting a verdict for the next committee meeting. Last month, as many of you know, the eligibility opened up to anyone who's at least 16, and now they're trying to push it even further to people as young as 12. For news in the United States, after gathering much data and analysis through the course of this year with COVID cases, with safety regulations and social distancing guidelines, it was reported that a full year of these guidelines of mask wearing, hand washing, staying at home, social distancing, and limiting people outside prevented the coronavirus spread, but also prevented the 2020 to 2021 influenza season and made it practically non-existent. Public health and clinical laboratories reported about 2,038 flu cases during the season from last year up till April 24, 2021, according to the CDC. And the agency estimates that about 38 million people were sick with the flu during the previous season. So from 38 million, we came down to about 2,000 of flu cases themselves, which is interesting. For entertainment news, NBC says that will not air the Golden Grammys in 2022. Amid growing pressure on Hollywood Foreign Press Association from the studios, large and large corporations in the film industry are saying that they will boycott the Golden Globe Awards. NBC said on Monday that they will not air in the Golden Globes for the next coming year, putting in doubt of the availability of Hollywood's one of the most oldest and watched award shows due to controversy about not enough diversity and bias in certain racial discrimination factors. And now, on the topic of the infamous pipeline hack, we have Peter Zias.
Yesterday, President Joe Biden addressed the public regarding the Colonial Pipeline being shut down for the fourth day.
The Department of Energy is working directly with Colonial to get the pipelines back online and operating at full capacity as quickly and safely as possible.
The shutdown was a precautionary response to a ransomware cyber attack that infiltrated Colonial Pipeline's headquarters. This shutdown would prevent this malware from spreading to the company's control systems that run the pipeline.
We have efforts underway with the FBI and DOJ, Department of Justice, to disrupt and prosecute ransomware criminals. And my administration will be pursuing a global effort of ransomware attacks by transnational criminals who often use global money laundering networks to carry them out.
President Biden continues with action and forward motion towards better cyber protection.
To jumpstart greater private sector investment in cybersecurity, we launched a new public-private initiative in April. It begins with a 100-day sprint to improve cybersecurity in the electric sector.
So far, there has been minimal gasoline and other energy supply effects. Colonial says it hopes to have their pipeline running again by the end of this week. I'm Peter Zizis, and this has been WMSC's News Report.
Thank you very much. And as for weather in Montclair, today it is partially cloudy with a high of 64 and a low of 43 degrees Fahrenheit with a 10% chance in rain. Today we have 34% humidity with winds at 14 miles per hour and a sunset around 8:04 p.m., which leaves us a nice, long, beautiful day. And that concludes our news update today for May 10th, 2021. From WMSC, I'm Isa Winek.
Thank you, Isa. And now Ben with our 2-minute warning. What's going on in the sports world, Ben?
Okay, one quick thing. 60 to 40 degrees is a big difference. I'm just saying.
That was my first thought.
Like, what? How am I? One is I don't wear a coat, and one is I do wear a coat. So that's not fair, first of all. And second, I'll do my sports update. So Yankees will be facing the Tampa Bay Rays today at 7 p.m. And the New York Mets have a big issue to deal with, who is probably the undisputed best pitcher in the league. Jacob deGrom is on the IL due to a right arm injury that he suffered a couple days ago where he was pulled out of his start. Also in news is, if you are a basketball fan and you live around here, most likely you're having a good time. The Brooklyn Nets, the New York Knicks, and the Philadelphia 76ers will all be in the postseason. If you're even a little bit more north, the Celtics are pretty much in the postseason as well. So in the coming of the rest of the week, it's a little, unless you're a Celtics fan, it's pretty smooth going for playoff seeding because all three of the other main tri-state area ones are in the postseason. In other news, it's just more of the same. It's just games coming up for baseball. Basketball's regular season's closing. The postseason will start next week. So it's not as intense in basketball. It's a little more intense in baseball for this week. But next week it's going to be it's postseason time, which means that I will actually have more interesting news. I'm joking. That's about it. But Amanda looks like she's doing something, so I'm kind of rambling. So anyway, what I did yesterday.
Ben, I'm listening to you. I'm listening.
Oh yeah, that is such a lie, Amanda. You're listening to me is like when my mom, when I was telling my mom about my day when I was 6, and she's like, yeah,
That's funny.
and she's like drinking her Coke Zero, and she's like, I don't care.
See, you always complain.
She's not listening again.
You always complain
about people not listening to me
about having sports on Tuesday, and then you say so much. So
yeah, I know. Nice. We love to have you, Ben.
First of all, if that's a lot to you, then what is Isa's report?
Okay.
All right. Well, anyway, Caitlin.
Yeah. Okay. Hi. This is an article from AP News. So exciting. Pfizer's shot expands to U.S. children as young as 12, which is amazing. So U.S. regulators on Monday expanded the use of Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine to children as young as 12, offering a way to protect the nation's adolescents before they head back to school in the fall, and paving the way for them to return to more normal activities. And shots could begin as soon as Thursday. And that really surprised me because that's so soon. But it's exciting.
Yeah, I was about to comment because it was since last month that they already made it eligible for 16-year-olds to have it, and now an even younger age group. I'm excited to see that they're moving forward. Hopefully everything will go out well and smoothly. And yeah, I'm wondering, does that right now, will that eventually affect schools to have mandatory vaccines?
So that's what we talked about, I think, when we were first hearing this might come out with this on the buzz. I think potentially. I mean, it might depend on the school, though, in all seriousness. Like, private schools will have an easier time to do it than, like, a public school because they might have to depend on the district. So I see more places, like, in New Jersey that might be an option. But, like, if you're going to go to a state like Florida, like, I mean, no offense to Florida, but, like, I don't see it happening as much there just because of the way that COVID's treated there, and maybe some other states as well. But a place like New Jersey, I could see maybe, like, more of the private schools maybe taking that into, like, effect, if that's a thing. Like, maybe.
Yeah,
but,
definitely.
I think this is great news, though. I mean, I know it'll make, I think people in high school a little more safer and stuff like that. But I think we are going to see a little bit of like parents like holding back even more, even if they got the vaccine, because they might think it might not be safe enough for kids.
No, definitely. They're definitely going to be more protective of their kids because, I mean, nobody knows the long-term side effects of anything. And that's the scary
No.
part. So definitely, parents are more like, I'd rather it happen to me before it happens to
But I think,
the child.
Caitlin, I know you were talking about this with Kyle on the Monday Buzz yesterday, but I think it's just the same thing with if you're talking about like any kind of side effects. I mean, technically, we're all growing up with technology right now. We're never going to really know the side effects of like, I think you guys said yesterday, like sitting too close to the TV or something like that. It's the same thing. You're not going to really know the side
a
effects
lot of
that.
people our age have ADHD, and somebody was saying recently that that's related to how we grew up with a lot of like phones and stuff when we were younger. Although I think we were in the transition period.
I mean, but also at the same time,
Wait,
if
what
you
are we
think
talking about?
But also, if you think about it, like it's the same thing with like depression and anxiety and stuff too, that I feel like you're never really going to know the side effects of like how technology affects that with kids our generation and things like that and moving on, because it's all going to be things you're going to learn in the future of long-term effects. So it's like the same thing. It's just different. You're just actually getting something injected into your body, which is the COVID vaccine.
Yeah, it's scary because it's like our physical health as opposed to maybe mental health.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a way to
I mean,
look
they're
at
both
it, too.
important. Yeah, they're both important, but a lot of people kind of brush off mental health
Right
too
now,
at
as
the
I
same
think
time.
about it, I actually want to ask you guys, do you guys like, are there any other vaccines that are maybe as widespread that have 2 doses?
I think there's one in college actually. I need to double check which one it is, but college vaccines I remember getting one before I entered college that was like you had to come for one and then you had to come back for a booster. I don't remember which one it was, but I'll double check right now.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it right now because I at least don't remember getting a double vaccine. And I remember when this first came about, it just kind of like struck a chord with me, like, oh, that's interesting. It's not typical.
I mean, it's because of the way that people advertise. Like when you get 2 shots of a vaccine, it's usually not so close to each other, I don't think. I mean, maybe is one that's really close to each other, but like with the COVID one, it was Pfizer's 3 weeks and Moderna's 4 weeks. But like those vaccines, it's like yearly when you go to the doctor, you wouldn't even know you'd be getting the second like dose of that other vaccine kind of thing. That's like how I saw it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but when I type it into like Google, I'm seeing meningitis is 2.
It might be
And that's something
meningitis.
you usually take to get into college.
And you're required to, if you want to live on campus,
If you
you're
want to live on
required to have
campus,
the
a lot of them
yeah.
have to do with living on campus because you're like congregated in spaces and stuff together, and that's usually why they require so many. But I don't know. I think this is going to be interesting, and obviously we'll be following it on the Morning Buzz, how this progresses. But Thursday's really soon, and that's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's not official. We're still waiting for like an official announcement of what day, but they're expecting maybe Thursday. So it's exciting.
Yeah, which
We'll
is awesome.
see what
But
happens.
speaking of kids and students during a pandemic, Caitlin, we got this story from NJ.com, and I want Ben's opinion too because he's our sports guy on the Tuesday. So this has to do with sports, and this has to do with COVID and college. And so basically, this is an opinion piece written on NJ.com. And basically the story is, why is Rutgers canceling in-person graduation but are allowing for football games? So this is an opinion piece written by Anthony Pham, who is a medical student graduating from Rutgers, New Jersey Medical School this spring. And basically the article kind of talks about how he ended up having to go onto the front lines and help out because he is in medical school. So he ended up going and training on the front lines, masking up, gowning, washing his hands often while seeing patients and studying cases. And he would end up having to go home and stay far away from his family because he didn't know what was happening, especially at first with when this first started. We were distancing ourselves in the houses and things like that. And he would have to come home and immediately shower and basically live like this for a while because this is the choice he made. He made the choice to go to medical school, and he wants to help out. And he's basically saying now he had no problem helping out, but now Rutgers is not having a graduation this year for any of their schools. And I had actually heard about this recently from somebody that I know that was in another school at Rutgers, and they said they were not having any graduation, and every other school in the state was, but they weren't for some reason. But the story gets more interesting now. Rutgers is still having football games. And there's less restrictions, obviously, on football games and having graduations and stuff because Governor Murphy has like released some of those restrictions now. But they're still not doing an in-person graduation. And especially with being in the medical school and going through this past year, it was different for you than any other school or anything. There's only about 187 people in his graduating class. They couldn't do the graduation, and they feel like they should be able to. So what do we think about this?
Well, the painful truth is which one makes money, which one makes the most money. That's just the bottom line.
Yeah, I understand.
I think it stinks and it's not fair. But the double standard, when the other standard makes you a bunch of money, is the reason that some of your stuff is a little nicer than ours here at Montclair. It's because that football team, that basketball team make all your money. Doesn't matter.
So
the boys and girls basketball team and the boys football team is the cash cow of Rutgers. And including all their sports, that's where their money comes from. So to even afford the graduation, they make that money primarily off of the students and then those sports games. So you say that it's like it stinks, but they have to spend money for those. They have to spend money for the graduation but they have been not making any money due to people not going to campus. They have not been making much money due to people opting out. They've been not making much money because a lot of incoming freshmen last year are sitting out a year due to COVID. So on top of that, they're not making much money. So they need this money that they're getting from football because they have to spend a lot of money on the things that they usually spend on when they have a full semester. So that is probably the reason why they're having a double standard here, is because they need that money that football gives them because they're a top 10 team known in the country, kind of. I don't know if they're top 10, but they're top 20 team known.
Yeah.
They're Big 10. They're in the biggest division, arguably, in college football. So they're with Ohio State and all of that. So when Ohio State comes to town, that place is as packed as it can get. So they need that money.
With that, though, I get that, and that's fine. I think that's awesome. Like, they're making their money. They're still able to have a football game, whatever. I think that's cool. But why can't you do both? Why can't you still make your money from a football game and any other sports you're doing, but then still just do the graduation? I mean, other schools are managing it, so why not?
That's true.
In this case, what I believe, because Rutgers is considered to be such a great school and they're opening up so many different things, many schools are opening up different things. I guess they just don't want to be criticized, or they don't want to risk having some new COVID outbreak or some new aspect turn against them, because everything seems to be going well for now, but they want to take it one step at a time. My inference is that because, like Ben said, this is in communication media, this is considered something called dominant materialistic relationship, in which money is kind of the central highlight and the main reason why they're doing what they're doing. And while all these social aspects do matter and a graduation is significant, this is something that's a higher priority for them, the fact that they need to earn money from it.
And so with your whole thing with the COVID thing, I'm going to compare it to Montclair, which not far. Montclair is doing 2 people get to come for your student that are graduating, and they're separating each college into different divisions. So like if you're a College of the Arts, College of Nursing, whatever, you're separated. So that's how they do it. And if they really were concerned, I feel like with COVID levels, they would just say only the students are allowed to come and it's separated into different ceremonies. And that's it. And you could do the virtual for everybody else and no people are allowed to be there besides the people that are actually graduating. There's ways around it. And with that big stadium, I think there is ways around it more than there might be at other places.
Well, we say that, but how much, for example, I'm not sure. If what I'm about to say is not true, then I don't get it because I think it's kind of ridiculous. But think about it like this. How many times, for example, we as on campus here at Montclair, we fought to be able to have an extra person in our room because we are not the reason that COVID keeps getting spread here. It's the people that are commuting.
Yeah.
It's the people that are coming up here. It is not us because we're stuck here. So when we think of it like that, we got really mad that we were getting punished when other people were giving us COVID. So that's That's what happened here. But who's to say that it's not happening there? So who's to say that the students at Rutgers may or may not, I'm not saying they are, but may or may not be doing something that got the school to not trust them. It doesn't matter how little, doesn't matter how big, but maybe the school just doesn't trust the students because of something that they did over the year. So
Yeah, but
it stinks, but maybe that the school just doesn't trust them to be in that kind of capacity.
I think it's just more I like if I'm not mistaken, like at least last time I spoke to people that I know that go to Rutgers, like they're fully virtual. Nobody's living on campus and they have fully online classes because Rutgers plans to be fully in person in the fall. So maybe they're just sticking to the fact that their classes are all virtual. Not that that's an excuse
Wait,
for
so
them
no
having
one's there?
graduation. I don't think so.
If no one's there, then that's why. Because they don't want people there.
Yeah,
They
I
want
don't know why they're doing sports. Like I guess people are
well,
going
to make
for
money.
sports.
If it's anything that makes them money, they'll do it. But if it's not going to make them money, then why do it? If
I
no
mean,
one's
last
there
time I
anyway.
spoke to people at Rutgers, nobody was there. And everybody
Yeah.
I know that goes to Rutgers is not living on campus, and they used to live on campus.
It's an
because-
unfair, brutal business decision. That's a business decision. It's if it doesn't make money, why do it this year? So it's not making them money.
Yeah.
Why do it?
I think
Like
you then
Montclair's
take the
way more open than Rutgers
Yeah,
is
that's
right
true,
now.
but we also have to take
We're also
into
more-
account the size. Yeah, like Montclair
Yeah.
compared to Rutgers is a much smaller school, where Rutgers,
Yeah.
they have so many students, international students, just coming, intermingling, and it's hard really to maintain that trust with such a big and diverse student body.
Yeah, well, that's why I think Rutgers is crazy for wanting to go fully in person in the fall because I don't know how they're going to go from 0 to 100.
Because
Montclair
they
slowly
are-
transitioned.
We're also
into
going fully
it.
in person in the fall.
Yeah, but they're
Yeah,
required.
but we've had the transition period. We were here last semester. Montclair has gone through a lot of trial and error. They've messed up a lot trying to deal with the pandemic and having us here. And like we've gotten to a better place now, but still.
But
Yeah.
I don't think it's that going to be as bad as we say it is, because you got to remember how many of these students now they have to be vaccinated. It's like
Yeah.
if you have to be vaccinated, if everyone on campus is vaccinated, it doesn't matter how many trial and errors you had. The odds are it's probably going to be extremely safe there. So I'm not saying that that's going to be bad. And honestly, there's a shot. I'm not saying there will be, but during next year, if not even before, there's going to be some serious restrictions lifted. So the world will be even better, back to normal by
That's
the time
true.
the semester starts. And then by the spring semester, probably it'll be even more. Like we'll be probably pretty close to back to normal. And then, but I think that at the end of the day, it stinks and it's really unfair, but we live in times that they probably don't care
So,
ever. But
there's-
it's just at the time where you got to think of it as if you're a person that's losing a bunch of money, would you want to spend all that money starting this entire ceremony? Because I don't think these ceremonies are cheap. I
So,
don't think that any of these ceremonies are cheap. Would you do that when you're losing money? And it's a business decision that a bunch of people make. But at the end of the day, that's probably what they said is I don't want to spend money and only make money. It's a logical but unfair decision.
There's another layer to this, and that specifically, like, yeah, it's graduation, and like everybody wants to graduate. That's fine. But there's the idea that this is a medical school student, someone that has put his life on the lines along with the rest of those members of his class to help people through the pandemic. And he was, he went through debt like the rest of us, all that other stuff. And to think that that one moment that was supposed to be so special for you gets taken away. And meanwhile, he does say in the article that his whole class is completely vaccinated. His whole class is completely vaccinated. So there's no risk of the COVID in that ceremony. And they said they offer, like, why can't we just do at least our ceremony? School came back and said that wouldn't be fair to everyone else. I get the idea that it wouldn't be fair to everyone else, but also at the same time, again, he put his life on the line as well as all his other classmates. And I think that should be appreciated. And we throughout the pandemic, we said, oh, our heroes. They're working, they're saving our lives. And then this is kind of the thanks we give them. And that's the way I look at it.
I'm not saying that that's not unfair, and I'm not disregarding what happened and what his story is, which is tremendous, and it's probably something that we should all look into and look up to. But at the end of the day, that's what my point is there. It's just I'm not saying any of my points are true, but I'm looking at it in a perspective of an unfair college, just like that is all about money, just like every college ever, that they all look at the money. They don't look at the students. Most of them care about the money that they make. And looking at it, Rutgers probably has, even though it's a whole vaccinated class, even it's all this, you could say that they literally are all immune. But at the end of the day, they have to spend a bunch of money to make a graduation ceremony that they don't want to spend that money. See the and also being that they're all virtual, they have an excuse, they have a way out. You can say the football games, but the football games are different. They're separate. That's a club. This is academically. They could give you 100 million excuses to why they can't do it, and the biggest one is because you're already home. You're already there. We don't want you coming up here. They have 100 excuses that are unfair. It's not fair. It stinks, but that's just how it's. This is going to be rude, but it is what it is. It's just how it is. It stinks. You got dealt a bad hand, and that's what happens. We got dealt a bad hand for months until we protested. I mean, they can do something about it, and they can try and change the school's mind, which is going to be even harder than how we had to change the school's mind, because their rule made no sense when they punished us. But that rule kind of has some validity, enough validity to it, and enough time to just get away with it. But it stinks, and it's a rough rule, and it's dealt a bad hand, but it at the end of the day makes an unfair sense.
Yeah. Anybody else have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, unfortunately, in this case, I would have to agree with Ben. What it looks like, even though I don't have the full information or disclosure on this, at the end of the day, the college interests are what kind of make the last decision. So while what these people are doing, especially in the middle school schools, or people volunteering, people who are on the front line helping,
I think we're losing Issa a little bit.
as much as they deserve a graduation, and as much as they deserve all these ceremonies, after to go out, but at the end of the
Okay.
I think we lost Issa,
yeah.
but I agreed that she was.
That's Robot Issa coming to you live here at WMSC in the Upper Montclair. That is we did our own version of the robot.
Yes, but I think we figured out that Issa's with Ben on that one. Even with the cutting out, that it. Yeah, I agree too. It's an economic decision, but it's just it's horrible decision.
It sucks. Yeah,
it's not a good decision. I understand. Yeah, football team makes money, but it also just stinks if you're in that class. And
you can blame sports all you want, and I've blamed sports because I've done theater and I've done sports. I've done it all. You can blame sports all you want, but at the end of the day, especially in college, they're a huge reason of why things are just a little nicer in your school. Like, they are the reason that, and it's not the players, whether they're good or not. It's just the sport in general is so entertaining throughout baseball, football, and basketball. Boys, girls basketball, boys, girls baseball, men's football, and even ladies field hockey. Just those kind of sports, they draw so many people and they make money. That's the thing. It's just the majority of the people want to watch them, and that's the problem. So, you can blame it all you want that they get the first dibs, but if the reason that we have a little bit nicer stuff is the reason because of them, you kind of just got to take the good with the bad.
Yeah. And with that, we are going to take a quick break here at 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair, New Jersey. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about the Golden Globes. And so stay tuned.
Welcome back to the Morning Buzz on 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair. If you're just tuning in, this is the Tuesday edition of The Buzz with Amanda Marino, myself, Caitlin Aristizabal, Issa Winek, and Ben Petrick. We were just talking about...
Wait. Why am I fourth? Am I the least important here?
Hey, I said you third.
Yeah, she did actually, but I thought that was weird because Issa was the newscaster.
It's true.
Chronological order.
Oh, Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's like the two
Because he's
hosts.
a newscaster. Technically, I'm also a newscaster. I just have I'm just a narrowed casting.
Yes.
I
No one's
narrow cast.
discriminating. Don't worry,
I'm
Ben.
not a broadcaster. I
We
just
still
say
love
my
you.
opinion.
Okay.
Yeah,
Go.
I
Good
did
for
make
you.
logical order, like host, then Issa, then Ben. I just messed up when I entered.
Good job there, Amanda. Anyway, I'm still offended, Caitlin. I'm the fourth most important. I'm the least. It hurts my feelings.
Okay, Ben.
Maybe
Anyway.
save the best
Yeah,
for
well,
last.
that's-
You never know.
Hey Ben.
This is why Issa's my favorite.
Well, this
She
is
just
why
said
we
I'm
also
the
gave
Thank
Ben.
you.
This is why we gave you the Tuesday bus, so you had the least amount of sports to talk about.
Yeah.
The discrimination.
Amanda, you deserve an air 5 for that one.
Thanks,
my
Ben.
Aw,
God.
a virtual
She didn't high five
fives.
me back, so that
She
retracting
did.
it. But
But Caitlin, what are we talking about?
Ben is just in the camera like.
Caitlin, what are we talking about
we
next?
were just talking about some pandemic news, but onto other more, I guess, entertainment issues though. I don't know how positive it is, but NBC has decided to not air the next Golden Globes over diversity controversy, and Issa touched upon this in her newscast. But we're gonna talk a little bit more about it. So basically, because of their lack of people of color nominees, and also like on their board, like they have a big issue is they have no Black members on their board for voting, and that was one of the bigger issues. So because of the lack of diversity in the awards and just every aspect, their NBC decided that they're not gonna air the show, and they are planning to, hopefully they want the Hollywood Foreign Press Association to work on it. Like their whole goal is they're going to execute on their plan and hopefully be in a position to, they plan to air the show in 2023. So they're kind of like pulling away to push them to do better, and they plan to come back and do that. But it's really crazy because a lot's happening with it. A lot of celebrities have been talking about it. They talked to Scarlett Johansson, who also gave them a quote and basically saying that she doesn't like the way that they ask questions and everything too. Like a lot of celebrities are boycotting this, including Tom Cruise, who gave back his Golden Globes, his 3 Golden Globe Awards he returned. So that was interesting.
what's the Golden Globes?
What?
Did you say what's the Golden Globe?
Which one is it? The Emmys are TV, Oscars are movies. What are
The
the
Golden
Globes?
Globes is a little bit of a mix, I'm pretty
It's a
sure.
mix. It's from the Hollywood Foreign Press
Who cares?
Association.
What do you mean, who cares?
A lot of people care. It's a major award show. It's it's a huge part of like how Hollywood does business instead of the sports now. We're moving on from sports to Hollywood.
but they like don't care, but they're not diverse, so who cares?
Yeah,
In
and
this case, it focuses on American and international TV. So it's a few different networks that come together and just like celebrate what they have. And like we said earlier, it's more television based, and it's not only America, but it's more globally in the film and TV industry.
And something to note also with what Caitlin was mentioning about NBC not returning to air it. The Los Angeles Times have also noted that several major outlets, including Netflix, Warner Media, are also boycotting and not showing any of the stuff or like working with them. So that's something else to look at too. If a lot of major companies, especially ones that are making money off of this, are kind of stepping back, it says something. Now, I know a lot of people could also look at it and say, oh, well, the ratings were really low this year, as well as every other award show, but that's not the reason that NBC is claiming that they are stepping back. So, what are we thinking? What are we thinking, guys?
You guys kept freezing for me, and then my computer was like, your internet connection is unstable, which is depressing.
So, what are we thinking, Ben, Issa? Thoughts?
Who cares? Like, I think it's just at the point, if you're gonna be like that, you're gonna be rude. You got what you get what you give. Like, you got what you deserve. I
mean,
said it's so rude. Like, I
yeah.
don't care. But like,
He's just like it's whatever. But I mean, there needs to be more diversity.
Oh, yeah, there does.
Yeah, that's the point. So why are we giving it the light of day if it's not being like that?
I agree with
If it's
that.
not being, if you're not being nice, why do you hold on? Why would you ever let a bully be in a story? You don't tell bullies, you don't tell them, you don't give them the light of day. The reason that they get more power is because you give them the light of day. So if you don't give them anything to talk about, then they realize they've done something wrong. And that's the bad Patrick advice.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair. But imagine returning your Golden Globes. Like, what, Tom Cruise just put them in a box? Like, here you go. I don't want it anymore.
Go to like UPS and like send it back. Like,
I guess it's like something more official, like a statement that first he maybe sends a letter or something, or he tweets about it. Just to
But
say
does that
like
help? Like, are they gonna be like, oh my God, Tom Cruise gave back his Golden Globes. We have to fix this. Like,
I don't know if Tom Cruise, if more people did it, maybe, but like Tom Cruise.
like everybody gave back their Golden Globes.
But
I mean,
oh, go ahead, Issa.
I am aware that people gave back Nobel Peace Prizes before in similar controversies, but it wasn't out of diversity, but more if they felt like, oh, someone didn't deserve a reward, or they started just giving them out for a reason that wasn't like truly valid or honorable. So I remember this did happen in the past.
For the record, and this is going to sound like kind of maybe a little controversial, but when thinking about like the award shows and stuff, and like how all of a sudden, like I'm reading this other article from BuzzFeed, and it was like Mark Ruffalo told Deadline that he can't feel happy or proud about his best actor award for his 2021 miniseries that he won for. And to me, I just think like, okay, my thoughts are like, you had no problem accepting it then, and then all of a sudden things come out and you're trying to save yourself, I feel like. And that's the one thing that I think about with all of this stuff. Like, all of a sudden we're now going to do something. It was okay like 5 years ago because I won the award 5 years ago, and it was like, all right, cool. Like I don't know. That's where I always get like weird with this. I feel like a lot of people just come out of nowhere and just say, I'm going to save myself and not be mixed up in this. And it's just like, and I'm not saying that might be the case. I don't know everybody's story and what they think about these things. Obviously, these people are stepping up more than other people are, but it's something I'm thinking about. Like, all of a sudden, like, you know, Mark Ruffalo had no problem accepting it a few months ago, but all of a sudden, like, I don't know. No hate on Mark Ruffalo, but
no, I mean, and that's true for anybody who's accepted an award like a Golden Globe. But I'm gonna share what I thought of when I was reading the articles, and because the two people that they use, which I just thought this was really funny, is Mark Ruffalo and Scarlett Johansson,
who are part of Marvel.
Right? One who are part of Marvel. Their characters in the series are friends, and in real life they're friends. And I just read it, and I was like, it sounds like, you know, like when your one friend stands up for something, and then it's like, oh, you go, your turn, like you speak. And I was like, why did they use them together? Like, it doesn't sound like very. That was my first thought. I was like, Scarlett Johansson and Mark Ruffalo. It just sounds like a little duo that they put. Like,
I'm laughing
we're talk
too
about the Golden Globes
because Marvel never gets nominated for any of these things, and I'm just like, that's where I'm also like laughing at.
They couldn't get quotes from anybody else.
I guess also to remember this, that a lot of public figures are faced with like much pressure when it comes to situations about diversity or activism, because if they like, on one end, it's either they do support it, or if they're neutral, or if they don't do anything, it might seem that they don't support it or they're against it. And it's hard to kind of say one or the other, because some people just, in a way, they don't want to comment on it because it doesn't really pertain to them. Like, if the diversity doesn't really affect them, yeah, maybe it's unfair, but they're not completely like, they don't want to be like activist like about it, or promote it too much, or it doesn't pertain to them at the moment. Like, it's just hard to say what to do properly in that case.
No, you're right, Issa. And I was thinking about it specifically. It's been happening a lot in the theater world too, and holding people accountable. And specifically with a big producer just came out, Scott Rudin, talking about like the people were facing abuse and stuff, and all these other scenarios in the rehearsal rooms and things like that. And people were pressuring actors and saying like, why aren't you saying things? And some people did come out right away and say stuff, but other people didn't. And I think that's also another way to look at it in this way. And it's the same thing with Golden Globes, Oscars, whatever you want to look at, Grammys. I know the Grammys were under fire again last week. Like,
they're always under fire. The Grammys is always a mess, because even if it's not diversity, they just always snub people. But anyway.
Yeah, and
Grammys doesn't understand. That's why Billboard's better, because Grammys doesn't understand what people actually listen to.
Yeah,
Grammys are just like, what song was kind of good.
Yeah, and I mean, like, that's the thing. Like, there are all these award shows, but like, also sometimes it's not necessarily the actor's fault, and also sometimes there's a lot of other people to also blame, but you put it out on that one person. And sometimes people just feel pressured with social media and stuff and don't necessarily need to say anything, and you don't know if they're doing actions on their own without being in the public eye. A lot of this stuff, like Tom Cruise doing this, that don't you think in a way this is kind of him just trying to get his face on an article again and say, hey, I just did this was kind of cool. Like, I don't know.
I was about to say, because this does seem like a small publicity stunt, even though this is a big issue, like the lack of diversity and that the fact that many people aren't having their voices or their creative talents expressed or heard because lack of diversity or just classical racism. I believe that some people do use that to their advantage to just step into the spotlight again, even if not much is happening in their career.
It's like a hero complex. He's just jumping in like, look what I did. I'm so helpful. I'm amazing. And we're gonna fight for diversity all of a sudden.
Yeah, and I know a lot of them do like their own.
Wait, what is that?
Me?
You reiterate? Like
Me?
the Mark Ruffalo and like all of the sudden people doing all this stuff? I'm
Oh, I
confused.
just thought
Oh
it
my
was
God.
funny when I read the article that it was Mark Ruffalo and Scarlett Johansson, because in Marvel, like Black Widow and Hulk are friends in the series, and then in real life, Scarlett Johansson and Mark Ruffalo are friends. So when I read the article, I'm not saying it's what actually happened, but when I read the article, their quotes are like back to back. So in my mind, I was just like, oh, that's funny. That's like, you know, if your friend goes to stand up for something and then they're like, okay, you go, now your turn, like go say something. That's what I read it. But I'm
Yeah.
not saying that's what actually happened. I just thought it was funny. That
I
out of
mean,
all people, they use
Because
quotes from
the
them.
people that accepted the awards before and are changing now are I don't think you should be mad that they're changing this year due to it, because you should think of it as just that means that people changed over the last year. So when we get on people for that's just something I've noticed in a lot of things where now it's like well over the last year they've learned. And the big thing is just like a lot of people over the last couple months have been taking, including myself, I've learned more about how lucky I am to be the color I am and how much that I could use that for good more than I ever did before because I just didn't know. So sometimes that's a big thing that just kind of upsets me, is just that people get on others for just now all of a sudden, when you got to take into account they didn't know probably. And if they did know and they were being bad, well, then people can turn good. It's just, I think at the end of the day, that's just another person that's now siding with you now.
I think
And they've learned.
that's a true point, Ben, and I think that's something to look at, and especially that some of these actors do their own activism, like Scarlett Johansson. She's very open about talking about women and their roles and stuff, and it's very like women empowerment and stuff, and that's fun. That's fine. But at the same time, if you look at even these articles that we just read,
First of all, if anyone messes with Scarlett Johansson, she'll do that thing where she wraps her leg around your neck and just like messes you up. I don't know what she does, but like when you know that her legs are starting to surround you, you're dying. Like that's
what
it.
I was going to say though is with looking at these 3 articles, I pulled up 3 articles. They mentioned Tom Cruise, Mark Ruffalo, and Scarlett Johansson, who are all white people. At the same time, you never got an opinion on someone that is of color and that is maybe has won a Golden Globe or maybe hasn't, and talking about it. Just a little thing to note when you're reading these articles is that they didn't get somebody's opinion that was of color.
Yeah. I mean, I think because if you ask any person of color about an issue like that, like their answer is going to be like, yeah, it's always been like that. Like you guys are just realizing it and we need to work towards it. Because even at the Oscars, they were like joking about it. I think it was Daniel Kaluuya, and like there was at one point where they were kind of joking about it, and I was like, oh, you know, like, oh no, it was another actress, I forgot her name, and it was during the trivia thing that they did where they decided to talk to them, and it was like the same thing, and it was like the song guessing game for what song won an Oscar. And they played the song, and then the girl was like, oh, well, that's by a Black artist. There's no way that they could have won. Like they joke about it. They tease about it because it was older. Like it was old Oscar trivia. So I feel like that maybe that's why. I don't know if that's not really an excuse to not ask a person of color for their opinion on the situation, but I feel like the answer is usually
That's fine,
not,
and I think
like,
you have an accurate point with that, but I
I don't
think it
know
would
if
have just
there
added
is,
to the
but
story.
I do know that there are people of color that probably did have an opinion. But you got to also take into account that all three, Mark Ruffalo, Scarlett Johansson, and especially Tom Cruise, did something that was crazy. Like they genuinely just did gigantic newsworthy things. Like they went out of their way to make the news. Like also, so probably by tomorrow we'll get more. So I wouldn't say just yet, but Tom Cruise giving back his awards and not doing it is huge. Like that doesn't matter who you are. Like that's gonna be a headlining story. Like, and then of course Scarlett Johansson and Mark Ruffalo teaming up to just diss it. That's another huge story. So I think by the time when other people start to come out with this, I think they're just for now, I think they're just the people that made the first big move.
Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
They mentioned Ava DuVernay. She's a director, and she's directed a lot of movies about. She did A Wrinkle in Time, and she did like that show on Netflix about the Central Park Five. So she does a lot of like important movies. Like there's always like a story behind it, and they didn't ask her specifically for her opinion, but they talked about how she has said things about the Golden Globes in the past, and then they also mentioned how she tweeted about Tom Cruise giving his Golden Globes back.
I guess because the three actors are such prominent figures and they attract so much attention, especially when it comes to the film industry, like, and across media, everyone knows those names. And I guess like it's in order to bring like a lot more attention to the subject and the story. But like in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, what if there were people that they did interview or ask their opinions about of color, but they wish not to be named or they wish not to make this public because yeah, like if something like this does come about, it's uncomfortable. It's kind of rude that they such a big and like well-known awards show still lacks diversity. And a lot of people could be just upset by it and they don't want to be seen, like people of color in the entertainment industry just don't want to be seen in a bad light because of saying like this is not fair. Because nowadays there's so much hate on the internet and around media in general.
What I will say with all of this in mind, obviously, like we said earlier, the award shows are always under fire. It just always happens. But I will say kudos to like NBC and those other platforms that also like said, we're going to take a step back from this. Like, I think that's really important to keep in mind that they were the people to kind of say something about that. And it says a lot because I was talking to Caitlin before the show and I said, I thought at first they were just like someone else was like taking the show away or whatever the case may be. I didn't understand that at first NBC was saying, oh yeah, we're just going to take a step back from this. And that's really important that a major network like that is taking a stand, and it says a lot about their company and their philosophy and their way of doing business. So I think that's something interesting to look at.
They're good at everything except late night. Or Conan O'Brien.
That's TBS. Or
No, it was a joke. So like about 10 years ago, Conan O'Brien got the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
And then 7 months later, they're like, well, we want Jay Leno back. And then they just kind of, Conan's like, why? He's like, because we do. And he's like, well, I'm out. And then Jay Leno got his job back. So it was an NBC joke for 10 years ago. You guys are too young.
Oh my
I'm older than you.
Okay. I just wanted to say that I found the quote that Ava DuVernay she said on Twitter, but she said, everything matters, even this. The ripple effects echo through our industry, especially for Black artists and artists of color. Kudos to all the activists, artists, publicists, and executives who took a stand to make this so. So it's important. I mean, what matters is what happens from this point forward. That there is change, that NBC can air the Golden Globes in 2023 because the Golden Globes the Hollywood Foreign Press Association has actually worked to bring diversity into their committee because there's no diversity in their voting committee at all.
Yeah, well, that's something that definitely needs to change for sure. And maybe they will realize that with all of this coming out now. So with that, I don't have a good segue for this next story, but here on the Morning Buzz, we love our odd news and lighter news, I guess, in a sense. I mean, it's COVID related. I know we're still not getting away from the COVID, but I thought this was like a really funny story to end the show with today. And that is from CNN Travel. I don't know if you guys know, but Dracula's castle is offering free COVID-19 vaccinations to anyone brave enough to visit. So a Romanian castle said to be home of Dracula is offering free COVID-19 vaccines to visitors as part of a vaccination drive. Brand Castle in Transylvania announced its Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine marathon in a Facebook post published on Friday. The castle was completed in 1388, and the castle sits outside of the city of Brasov. It resembles the castle inhabited by Count Dracula, the main character in Irish author Bram Stoker's novel Dracula, published in 1897. So what are we thinking about this? You can go get a COVID vaccine in a castle that's said to be Dracula's. Like, super spooky fun for anybody that's like into like haunted houses and things like that. I think
That's
this is
so
like
cute.
fun.
It's funny to think about all the like things, the tactics to get people to get vaccinated. But
Yeah,
like
from free donuts, I heard like
Yeah.
beers to like special passes. Oh
You'll
my
get a
God.
brand new car if you just get vaccinated.
Literally.
The persuasion. I mean, I see
love
so
that.
many ads on TV for it as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the push now because the reality is the people getting the COVID vaccine, especially in this country, has gone down. It has, because everybody that wanted it immediately got it, and now it's just the people that are kind of on like the line about it, like don't want to get it, or like kind of still like worried about it and stuff like that. So it's kind of trying to push those people. So with that, they're pushing people around the globe too, and with around the globe, they're pushing people to go to a castle and get your vaccine.
I would do that though. I mean, I'm already vaccinated, but I would do that because you get to, it says all beneficiaries receive a vaccination diploma at Brand Castle. I wonder if they like decorate it. Like, that'd be so cute. And then also you have free access to the exhibition of medieval instruments of torture. Like, you get to like have a full day. You get your vaccine and then
yeah,
you
I
just
hope
kind of
they're
chill.
not implying the vaccine as an instrument of torture, though.
No. It's
'Cause
just like
it's-
you get to see one of their exhibits.
Excuse me. An instrument of being sick for 24 hours is what the vaccine
Yes.
is. But
Yeah, but like you get a free like
you're
kinda, like,
straight up immune to all that virus. No, I'm joking.
you're getting like a free trip out of it in a sense, like, because instead of going to like a doctor's office or a pharmacy, you're like, I don't want to go to CVS, so I'm gonna go to a gas
Ugh, I ain't going to those CVS, Rite Aid or die. Sorry.
As I think about it, I could imagine that they could do something like this in maybe Six Flags or the Metropolitan Museum of Art for the summer. They just like brainstorming. What else could they do?
So
Oh,
needy.
imagine if they did it in a New York museum. That would be wild.
Wait, give out vaccines in the New York Museum?
Yeah, like the Met.
Hello, welcome to our place.
my.
Hello, welcome to
No,
our
like you
place.
get so you get the vaccine at the Met, and then after, like, it's at the front, and then you get to walk
What if you start to
around
get
the
sick
Met.
from the second dose when you're just in the Met?
It doesn't
This-
happen right
This
away.
really
You get
beautiful,
sick at
priceless
night.
painting. You just go.
Or you
Oh,
see
sorry, I
a bunch
just
of
got my
just-
second shot, and this other guy is just like, now everyone has their second shot feeling nauseous, and then just one guy goes, and then the whole. I'm sorry. That's such a disgusting image, but now that would be absolutely kind of hilarious to hear that in the story.
I mean,
So actually, I hope that happens.
I mean,
The Met, the Met down in flames in a different way.
I mean, it is kind of interesting though. Issa was saying the point that like we have to be like, I mean, especially us in America, we have to be bribed with something. It's like here's a donut, here's a beer, here's ice cream. Like, get it?
Yeah, I'll do
Like,
most anything for
Yeah.
all three of those things combined. Like, I'm like, in a year, I will do all, like, I will literally run to Antarctica to get all those. Oh, you get a donut, a beer? And I'm like, oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure I could say to Ben, here's $1, and he'd be like, all right, I'm gonna go get a
You
vaccine.
can literally say straight here, don't stop, and here's a quarter, and I'd probably do it.
Honestly, Ben, you should.
It's the pride of getting the reward. Continue, Issa.
Yeah, you should write all the rewards that you need to get and like make a little bucket list for the summer coming up. It's like, okay, free donuts, free something else.
What do I
go
mean?
to
Keep getting the
Dracula
vaccine
Castle.
just to get a
No,
donut?
Ben, did you
Then give
ever-
me more. Give me
No,
more. I
Every
really
time
need
to
that
show
beer.
them, hey, you got the vaccine. I need to
You're
get
under
this.
21, sir. I need the beer.
Well, Ben, if you with the donut thing, it's for the whole year.
Oh, I get a free donut for a whole year?
Yeah,
Yeah, you can
every
get one
time.
free
That
donut
was
at
why it was so
Crispy.
cool.
I ain't
If
afraid
you
to do
show
it
your
twice.
vaccination card.
If I
Ben,
get
you wanna
the
go to
vaccine
Krispy
twice,
Kreme?
does that just mean I'm like completely? I just start to like get immune to other viruses.
Didn't we have a conversation about this? How Ben and I said we were gonna go to different Krispy Kremes
You
and
did.
see
You
if it
did.
would
You
work.
said it when we first talked about it.
Wait, can we go with our vaccine card and say, can we?
Yes, that's the
That's
whole
what it is.
point.
Yes, we have to do. Oh my. Okay, we're gonna do that. We'll get back to everybody.
Oh,
What are-
apparently.
Summer
Caitlin,
project.
you better not have anything to do this afternoon.
I have class at 2:30, but I'm. free
Who
after.
cares about that?
I mean, we're there at the end of the semester. I'm not endorsing
No,
to skip
I'm
class,
impatient.
but like
It's no.
Amanda said, I mean, I think you should go for research purposes. So like, think
research
about
purposes
that.
for the buzz. I
Yeah,
mean,
just
why not?
email your professor. Be like, listen.
I'm not emailing
I'm not
Vanessa
coming
Greenwood
today
telling her I'm getting a
Because,
donut
Yeah,
from
by the way,
Krispy
this is
hello.
on
Kreme.
live radio, so if your teacher's listening, that'd be absolutely hilarious. So if you're listening, please let her go. Just send her an email being like, take Ben to Krispy Kreme.
I
It's
mean, I can not to endorse.
Can we do
getting
a
class on
remote?
your phone in a car? But we
should
could
do a
do
remote
class
where we
in the
just
car.
send. Oh my gosh, let's do a remote. Amanda, I have a question for you. Just how
Yeah.
cool would remotes be? We should do remotes where we just do funny videos of us going to places and being.
Hey,
fun.
you know what? Record yourself going to Krispy Kreme and getting your free donut.
I'm telling you, how funny would it be?
No, it would be great. I'd air it on the
I
buzz.
know. I'm just-
I'd air it on the buzz, but
We're
for-
gonna drag Leslie too.
for
Sorry.
right now, we
She's
have
not
to.
invited.
On
I just
air,
roasted
yikes.
Leslie. She's not even here.
And it's on air. We're live right now,
I
Ben.
roasted Leslie on live radio, and she has no idea what I've done.
Well, anyways, for right now, though, we will not be going to Krispy Kreme. Ben and Caitlin might be in the afternoon, and they will report back to us to talk about the
Yes,
Krispy
and
Kreme
if you're
donut
Leslie, you're not invited.
experience. But for right now, Caitlin, you want to close us out?
Okay, well, I didn't. Oh, cool! Yay! I
You
didn't
gotta,
expect that.
you gotta say some good sentence right here. This has gotta be the sentence.
Oh,
Of,
shut up,
you
Ben.
have to sum up the whole show in one sentence. I believe in you.
Oh, I'm not summing up the show. Am I supposed to sum up the show? I'm just gonna
give
like
us
say
give
bye. What
give
the
us a
heck?
conclusion, a strong conclusion, like you were writing
Give us
this
something to
paper.
hang our hats on.
Okay,
Give
You were
us
writing this
something
paper, and now
that
you're.
we'll remember into the next Tuesday buzz. This is your moment.
Yeah, that's
One shot,
Okay,
one opportunity.
you've been
Everything
listening to the
everyone-
Morning Buzz on 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair with Amanda Marino, myself, Caitlin Aristizabal, Issa Winek, and Ben Petrick. Yes, Ben is fourth again because it's what he deserves, in my opinion. And
Listen, guys,
yes, I
just
hope you all have a
remember-
wonderful day and tune back in tomorrow for the Wednesday edition of the Buzz with Tara and Jaslyn.
Yep.
Yes.